Okay, so welcome to the Magic Minds podcast. I'm Matt Burke. Today I'm joined by an absolute celebrity of a guest, Stephen Jones. Stephen, what's the crack?
How are you? Thanks, Matt. I don't know about celebrity, but I'll take it.
Oh no, look, I'm definitely going with celebrity, and I love the fact that you're Dublin and the fact that you've given me your time. Time is a beautiful commodity, and if anybody can give me time, I'm just so enamoured. So absolutely, thanks very much.
No, it's mutual. Anytime I get asked to do something, I'm the one who feels like me, really. People would be interested to hear me talk or do an interview, whatever. I'm still surprised by that, so delighted to be here.
Guys, the reason I've asked Stephen to come on the show is today because he's a writer, first and foremost. He is a current actor, blogger, and he just comes across as a Dublin sound lad, and I just want to have the chat to him, so delighted to have you on board. So look, give us a little bit of history, to your acting, writing, how it all started. Give us just a brief intro.
Yeah, well, I went to university, went to UCD, and I was studying arts, doing English and history. And as a teenager, I'd always been writing. I was in a creative writing group, kind of run out of Tala Library. And the mentor of that group, if you like, is an author called Larry O'Loughlin. And he said to me, "Oh, you're going to UCD, you should think about joining the Drama Society." And I said, "Oh, I've never acted, really." He said, "No, my daughter was there. You might write a play one day and they can put it on." So that was in the back of my head. Anyway, went to UCD, joined the Drama Society, but didn't get involved for a few months. And then I saw a poster up saying that there was auditions for 12 Angry Men, and I knew the movie really well,
Okay.
Henry Fonda. And so my way into it wasn't through writing. It was, do you know what, I wouldn't mind giving acting a go. It was just something I'd always done, little silly videos with my mates, or I was doing impressions, or whatever it was. And so I ended up auditioning for a play. I thought, look, no one knows me down here. Got the lead role, and out of the 12 guys involved in the production, I think 7 or 8 are involved in some way, shape or form, professionally in acting or directing, or theatre stage managers. Or there's 2 of the guys who are in the comedy trio, Foil Arms and Hog, were in that production.
Right.
So it's kind of, it sprung from there. Once I did that, I was hooked,
Yeah.
So I just basically acted my way through UCD. What was meant to be a hobby kind of became first and foremost. And then I remember, I think it was in my 3rd year, a lecturer of mine came to see a show I was in. And he came to see all the shows. But he said to my parents that night, who were there on the same night, he said, Stephen should do this as a career. And I think that they were very supportive anyway, but that was, I remember that being one of the moments where it was like, yeah, he should. And gonna go to acting school, drama school in London. Got to the final round of a couple of big schools, didn't get in. Was gonna go back the following year, try and work and save money to go. But then I ended up doing a small budget film called Between the Canals. And basically anyone that you've ever seen on Love Hate, you've probably seen them in that movie first. So that's how I ended up getting an audition for Love Hate with an old UCD pal of mine, Peter Coonan. I remember it was between me and him for the role of Fran. We were called back a couple of times. And at the time, we'd no agent, we were texting each other back and forth. Did you get a phone call yet? Did you get a phone call?
Ah, deadly.
So he got the big part, and he was brilliant in it. But they gave me a small role as a kind of, look, we still want you to be involved. So just, and then knocking on doors and doing shows for no money, and you kind of build it up over the years, and you eventually get to hand the notice into the part-time job and try and sustain being a professional for as long as you can, and trying to write alongside acting. And
yeah,
so that's my little history in a nutshell.
Just to touch back on something you just said there about because I had a similar experience to lecturers having an influence on me. The fact that he said that about you, did that boost your confidence? Do you think, you know what, he sees something in me that, and I trust this dude and we have a great relationship, so he must be right? Did that have it? Because I know it happened to me. Yeah,
no, it did, yeah. I mean, and as well, it was the friends I made, it was the other people in Dramsoc maybe who were a year or 2 older than me, who were adamant that they were going to do this for a living. Like, they were going to, they have a degree, but they're going to go to London, or they're going to whatever, pursue acting as a job. And I thought, really, can you do that? Because it seems like an alien thing. It seems like it's only for people that you see on the telly that Even
them over there.
Yeah, well, you even said the word like celebrity, and I never ever class myself as that now. But there's almost no such thing as an Irish celebrity unless you're a mega super sports star, or
it's because everyone shoots you down.
Like Colin Farrell, where you're kind of like you're a Hollywood star,
Yeah.
So I just didn't think it was attainable. But yeah, the likes of that, the likes of my parents supporting me, because it is such a precarious profession, And
well, most parents just want you to get a trade, be a plumber, be an electrician.
Yeah.
But it's deadly that your parents have said, you know what?
Yeah.
Because I read somewhere in an article that said that you had great support from your folks, which is
Yeah,
deadly.
they always knew I was kind of creative, and I like to think that I had my head screwed on. I think that they know that I would never put myself in a position whereby, like, I'll always find a way. You know, they know that about me. And that I've no problem. For years I worked in a call centre. You know, I'd have no problem at all having to do something else to pay my bills if I get to that stage. Which, you know, again, haven't been like that for a few years. Been very lucky. I've been working, but at the same time, you know, far from, you know, rolling in cash or anything like that. So you never know what's around the corner with this business. So.
Yeah, I think the skill sets are transferable. If your parents see you grinding on another job and you just apply yourself, you can apply yourself to anything. If he's made a success in this, he'll do well in this. And if he moves from that, you do well in that as well. It's just, you know what I mean? I just think it's what you do. I think we are what we are. And no matter what you apply yourself to, and I'm sure your parents have seen that.
Exactly, yeah. And I think sometimes there's you know, you can worry. You're going to worry anyway as a parent. I'm not a parent myself, but I can imagine. And you're going to worry anyway. But my parents, one thing they never did was pretend they had a clue about the acting business. So they tried to avoid as much as they could just, you know, the classic, oh God, you'll always be out of work, you know, there's no, you know, it's all about luck, it's all about, and they kind of realised that, you know, there's times where, yeah, you can get lucky, the right job falls at the right time and you're the right look for it, L-O-O-K, as well as having good luck. And, but sometimes, you know, there's hard work involved, and they saw me, you know, write my own plays, put my own productions on, and kind of almost in a way having to speculate with my own cash to try and accumulate, you know, like shows that have been managed to tour to different venues, and you can make money that way, you know. So it's but it's fun. It's like, you know, life's too short not to pursue what you want. I think that my parents realised that they're from a generation where they didn't have maybe the opportunity or encouragement like they are able to afford to me, and I think they've always known that, and they've always appreciated that. If I'm able to do something that's regarded by them anyway, certainly, or other members of my family as a little bit different, a little bit special, then I think they're delighted with it, you know.
Deadly, and I think that's a great inspiration for other parents. If any parents out there listening, if your kid comes to you and says, I want to be a singer, a dancer, candle maker, whatever, just support them, support the kid and believe in them. I think that's deadly. I think your parents are savage. That's rocking. Question I want to ask you, something I read as well. You said being from Tallaght, it made you an honest actor. Can you give us a little bit more on that? What did you mean? How? Yeah,
I mean, I think because I was asked the question recently on something about, you know, what are kind of, you know, in bunny ears working class values, and I was trying to think about it, but it comes back to that thing of look people in the eye, tell the truth, say what you mean and mean what you say, and you won't get away with bullshit for long, you know. And I think that I went to a great school, but it was a school whereby it was like you had to say what you meant, and people respected you for that. And I remember watching an interview with Gabriel Byrne about acting a few years ago, and he said something that stuck with me. He said for years and years and years, even as a successful professional, he thought that acting was about pretending to be somebody else, and then he discovered middle of his career that actually it was about having the courage to be yourself. And acting, we always know the cliche about acting, you know, just, you know, make it truthful, tell the truth. But I think it is that. And I think if you have those kind of values, I mean, I'm sure people listening to this from all different walks of life say they have the same values, you know, but I can only go by my experience. And I think that being met with a little bit of resistance, when I first went to UCD, being met with a little bit of, oh, you're from Tallaght, and all of a sudden people thought that where I was from was was a bad place or something like that. I think that made me go, actually no, my experience of where I grew up was brilliant, and it's part of who I am, and it's I just attribute good qualities I have to my family and the place I grew up. And I think that, yeah, there's an honesty that people always say if they want to give me a compliment about acting, oh, it was very believable or it was very real. And I think that I've just encountered a lot of real people who wear their heart on their sleeve, and the warts and all can't hide it, whether, you know, it's positive and negative like we all have. And I think that's where it comes from.
Yeah, absolutely. I can resonate now. I'm from the Liberties and I sing that from the roofs. I love the place. But I went back to college late and I've got education. I've done all these courses, but I don't use them as much as I use my social skills, and the person I am because of the area I'm from. I think I'm successful in the job that I do today because of that. And I could see that in the film with you. You come across as just somebody from Dublin, straight, ordinary, and I think it shapes us, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I think you take on all the as much positive stuff as you can, and if you're met with any negativity, you try and assess that, and you go, no, that's inaccurate. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm not a type of person who'll defend, antisocial things that go on in an area, but I will be a person who'll say, what are the causes behind that? Let's not react to the secondary problem. Let's look at the primary problem.
Yeah, not the symptom. Let's look at the causation.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. My mum once said one time, "Are you still training?" I went, yeah. You don't look like you are. And to anyone else would go, "Geez, that's harsh." But she was just honestly saying, obviously there's something else going on. You are training, but it's not going well for you.
Right, yeah.
And I just thought, you just get that honesty. It'd be hard to hear at the time, but it's in our city honesty, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Well, intention is always the right thing. It's always a thing for me.
Absolutely.
Everything in life. And I think that sometimes you wonder, how does that person get away with being so honest, even though it can be quite cutting? And I think it's because their first intention is to just tell you the truth. No bullshit. Lay it on the line. It's not to try and be wishy-washy. It's not to try and hurt you, first and foremost, by being honest.
Absolutely. You know where you stand then.
Yeah.
There's no hidden agenda.
Yeah, and I've always found that myself, that over the years, I've tried to be honest with people more and more and be direct and have good intentions behind it, rather than when you try not to offend somebody, or, you know what I mean, you can sometimes, you're better off just being direct with people.
You can either choose courage or comfort. You can't do the both together, they say. Sometimes I go out with the courage. It just cuts a lot of the bullshit out, and it saves a long time. One thing you said at the Panty Socrates thing was when you met Emma Kerwin and the class. And could you just talk to us about that again? The fact when you met him and you see him, says, "Oh, he sounds like me." Give us a little insight to that. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of the things I'd been writing in the early days, short stories, and when I got to university, like small plays, short plays, they were kind of more influenced. They were like American voices I was using, things that you'd see in a telly, trying to be like Stephen King, like little horror stories with twists or whatever it may be. And then I discovered the plays of Marco Rowe, who's from Tallaght as well. So I started to write plays that blokes that sounded like me, and at the time as well, being a young man, the plays were predominantly about young men. But then when I got out of college and started to delve into professional acting, I met Emmett. He's a few years older than me. He's from Tallaght, and it sounds a bit like me. I don't quite have the little husky, voiceover voice like he has, but or the spoken word voice. But I had just seen that he had been doing a lot of good work and was a writer as well. And I remember watching his RTE thing, Sarah and Steve, set in Tallaght, about this couple, and I could just recognise it. And when I met him as a bloke, he was very sound, very humble, enjoyed talking about theatre and film like I did. But he hadn't got that inferior complex that I'd met with some other people. He was very assured.
Comfortable in his own skin,
comfortable in his own accent, comfortable to engage with people from all walks of life on any topic. And I just thought, like there's an educated dude, he's talented, he's creative. And yeah, it was a person to say, okay, he's from where I'm from, like Marco Rowe is from where I'm from, and I think it doesn't hurt to have someone from your area do well.
Oh, it's amazing.
I think that sometimes that happens. We were talking about class on the Panty thing, and it was like, yeah, like sometimes friends of mine maybe who. Really good friends of mine who I met in UCD, who would have been from more, let's say, the typical middle class backgrounds, and would have went to private schools and stuff like that. Right. They have no real sense of pride in their area, and they don't see it as a good thing or a bad thing. It's not something they've ever had to go, I'm from Rathmines, or I'm from Dundrum, or I'm from Stillorgan. This is, it's... Yeah. And I always thought that was strange. But then they've never been met with any kind of negativity towards it.
That they have to represent their area. Anywhere I go, people say to me, "Where are you from?" I'll always say, "I'm from the Liberties." I don't say Dublin Liberties. I go, the Liberties. Yeah. Straight away, like I'm representing, I'm holding a flag.
Yeah, and the other thing is, sometimes is that I used to be much more like that when I was younger. I think I've let it go a little bit because I've realised that you don't really have anything to prove to people.
Yeah, mine's now
you know.
not an agenda. Mine's now just a genuine love.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. I'm just so proud of the area for all that's done, the people that's come out, the work that they do. You know, in the middle of trouble, they still seem to rise and do well, and that's probably pride more than fighting me corner. Really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you think, just talking about class, are you more aware of it now? Is there much of a divide, or are you just more aware of it?
In terms of like acting, there's been a lot of talk, especially from the UK and now into Ireland, about working class voices and how they're represented, and that got me thinking about it a lot. It's a weird thing as well, though, when you're an actor, is that you have to have like almost like a bit of a ruthless and selfish streak in that because I have played a lot of different parts, I don't worry about it too much. But it's only if I reflect on it, I think, well, you know, I haven't really been asked to do a lot of kind of comedy of manners, Oscar Wilde style, importance of being earnest type plays. You know,
yeah.
I've either asked to be kind of, you know, very, you know, again in bunny ears, Dublin character, or, you know, use certain skills I have, like with voice, to play multiple roles where you need someone to do 10 different accents. I've done a lot of that kind of work as well. But if I was to go through my CV over the years of characters I've played, I would say the vast majority of them have been what you would call working class characters, both from rural Ireland and Dublin. And that's interesting. And maybe it's just it's I can wear that skin easier because maybe I know it. And maybe it's maybe it comes back to that thing of just a character walks on stage and they're portraying a certain thing, and the audience can either sit back, relax, and go with it and smell the truth off it, or they, you know, you have to be a very fine actor who can just really morph into something. I don't know, but so I'm aware of it, but I try not to worry about it.
I was never aware of it till I came to work in a hospital, and then patients would mimic my voice or would talk about how I talk or about my ear. And I was like, oh, I never noticed. I mean, oh, Jesus Christ. And then it just come up, and then I'm more aware of it now. I more embrace it because I just feel like it's one of my skill sets.
Yeah,
you know?
well, I got that when I went to college, all right. I never knew I had an accent. It's funny, so I definitely try and keep my accent, but then I do know that certain, just from being a professional actor for years, like certain words have changed because of how I've learned to use the inner workings of my mouth. So the word theatre would have been really difficult for me when I first went to college. Theatre. I wouldn't have used TH in that way.
Yeah.
Like that would have been an alien sound to me. Right. You know? So it's funny. So, but I got over it quickly. I think it's all to do with self-confidence. It's about, it's about hearing, it is about hearing other voices. I mean, there's a lot of talk in the world today, in the entertainment industry, about hearing more ethnic voices, as they call it, you know, hearing a lot more female voices. We've seen a lot of that in Irish theatre and Irish film and TV recently over the last few years. You know, a lot of theatre companies have made a big commitment to commission 50-50 balance between male and female voices in the playwriting side of things. And, you know, I think the more of that there is, the better it is to encourage younger people. But I think, I think that's what it comes down to, confidence as well. I have no problem now. I never feel like I'm beneath anybody. But it is like the smallest thing, like mimicking an accent. Like I remember a friend of mine came up from Leitrim to college. He came up and everyone would all do it to him, you know. And it'd be like, you don't know what that can trigger in somebody, you know. It's like a small little thing, and it might be done in jest. Yeah,
like when you say to people here, you're from Cavan. I've met a lot of people from Cavan, and they hate it. They're like, stop saying that, you shithead. Don't be. Or if you say Sligo, people will say, I live in Sligo, not Sligo.
Yeah.
And it pisses people off. And I thought that's endearing, but it's not. They don't like it. It's a bad buzz.
No, it depends on the person, but it's like, you know, there's you never know what how they think they're being perceived.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
People can be fragile when it comes to things that they can't control, and I don't think that we should be. I think we all should be proud of how we sound and where we're from. But, you know, tiny little things can build up and affect a person's confidence. But that's what it's all about. It's about confidence. It's about being able to talk to anyone from any walk of life and treat them the same way, and realise that if they don't treat you the same way, it's not on you.
question for you. I read an article as well that you were saying that playing a hard man was counterintuitive to you because you're not a hard man, and your mates used to laugh when you played the baddie in Love Hate. So what was it? How did they receive you when you said you're going down the road of acting and drama and skill? The reason I ask you that is I'm sure there's other young lads in the same position to you from the working class area, from Tallaght, thinking, oh, wouldn't mind getting into acting, wouldn't mind doing a bit of that, but the lads might give me a bit of stick.
Well, I think that's all changing as well. I think the likes of a show like Love Hate or Red Rock, where I don't know, it's always been met by as a very cool thing. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But I think it's about having somebody being perceived to do well. So I saw a lot of younger lads than me would have been in my school and stuff. Anytime I'm back at my folks and I see them, is Love Hate coming back? Is Red Rock coming back? Whatever it may be, I think if you're on something, then it's like, oh my God, But I think at the start it was like, sure, Jonesy's mad,
deadly
doing the drama and all. But it was like I was always
I hear that before. That's yeah, he's mad. Don't mind him.
Yeah, but I was always a funny one, and I was always extrovert, and I was always loud,
right?
And I would have been, but then I would have played ball, and I would have been,
yeah.
But I never drank until I was like 21 or 22.
Did you not?
No, but I was still the first one up on the dance floor.
Giving it socks.
Yeah, so I think that I had. Now, looking back on it, we're all have our insecurities and all that, especially as teenagers and young people. Maybe there was a huge part of me that was my way to cover any vulnerability or insecurity, was to be brash and be very outwardly very confident and all that. But I had good mates. They liked it, and when they came to see the shows, if it's good, they're going great. And now it's funny because they're always interested to talk about my work, because to them it is something a bit different. I think that it can be very hard for people to put themselves out there, but once they do, it's unbelievable. Because even a really good friend of mine who I grew up with, he has been a brilliant musician for years. His brother was in bands that got really close to making it over the years and supported big groups and stuff like that. He's always great singer, great in the guitar, wrote his own songs, and he's 33 now, and it was only last year that he went and did his first ever gig, because a big U2 tribute band knew his father-in-law were talking to him. Anyway, he supported them in the Button Factory, and now you can't get him off a stage.
Savage.
And he's gone, why didn't I do this years ago?
I know.
Now, it's not out of total regret, but it's out of, for years he thought, no, I'm happy up in the attic. I'm happy in me, when the wife's watching the TV and I'm in playing the guitar on my own, getting that hour for myself.
That's a deadly story. Delighted to hear that.
You can see it in him. He loves the nerves. He loves the adrenaline. He loves turning around and going. He was playing in the Orchard in Rathfarnham there last weekend. Turning around to me going, shitting it. I'm like, and it makes it. It's funny because for years his questions to me about acting were never always just about the show or the performance. It was about the process and how I felt before.
Right.
And I always think that maybe it's like that. It was always inside him going.
Of course, he was priming himself for that.
How do I take that step?
Yeah.
But I think if there are young people that are thinking about doing it, I think the younger you are, like anything, the easier it is.
Oh, absolutely, because I'm struggling at the moment with this podcast with asking people. Like I was just talking to my manager there this morning. I feel like I'm stalking Imelda May because she's from my area and I want her to come on the show. Yeah. But I keep asking her. But to me, that's like, stop doing that. That's not. Don't do that. You're not meant to do. You're meant to be quiet. You're meant to, if you see her, say, "Any chance you come on the podcast?" But no, in this industry or if you want to get at, you're gonna have to put yourself forward, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah. And you have to.
Like going over to talk to you the other day, I was shitting. Your mate was like, "Just go over and ask." I said, "Right, fuck it."
Yeah, absolutely, no. You have to ask the question. You know what I mean? And I think that, you have to be in any form of whatever it is, in the arts, in the media. Yeah, you have to be straightforward, and you have to sell yourself. Like I get a lot of stick up my mates about like social media and stuff, but I only see it as using it as a platform. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's promotion. It's selling tickets for shows. It's putting yourself out there. It's making you. It's showing the positive side of you. It's showing your work ethic, and it's saying, look, I'm here to be hired. I'm here to work hard. I'm here to promote myself.
Absolutely.
And opportunities can come your way by these things. Obviously you've been doing a lot of work in the theatre and a bit of film and TV in Ireland, but it was through a connection on social media that even the producer of Panty's podcast for RTE got on to me, sent me a private message on Twitter to say, we'd love to have you on. And I always think that these are small little things that can do you no harm, because if you're in any other business, You could plant your face and your company on the side of your van and drive around Dublin promoting, or you could take an ad out in the paper. When you're an actor, you can't do that. So for me, at the level I'm at, where I'm not in a position whereby the phone is just ringing 24/7 with all these big offers. I think that I just try and be direct, let people know what I'm doing, let people know where I'm at.
Yeah, it's a bit better than sticking what you had for your dinner last Sunday up, isn't it? Or the fucking...
it's funny, it's...
And nothing against people that do that, but I mean, they're two different things for me. I'd sooner read your post than whether Bernie had muesli on a Monday morning. I couldn't give a rat's.
Yeah, and
that's good for her.
Yeah, my mates who come and see any shows anyway, but I'm trying to tell them, I'm not doing this for your benefit, But it's funny, it's funny how it works. I mean, I don't see my Twitter page or Instagram or whatever as being me, even though I'll put up something about the World Cup.
An extension of your arm.
Yeah, I don't see it as me privately, so I can kind of separate. It's like people ask, how can you watch yourself on screen? And some actors don't like to do it. I've just got used to being it's like just a different me. It's the actor side of me, it's the professional side versus the personal. So I can watch it and try and be objective and go, without being big-headed, really liked what I did in that scene, and then the following scene go, look, I'm doing too much there,
right,
or whatever it is. Whereas some actors don't like to do that,
right,
and I understand that too. But for me, I don't see it as being. I don't get embarrassed by self-promotion. I don't cringe about doing interviews or anything like that. I just think that it's part of this game, and you're in there and you're hustling and bustling and you're trying to stay ahead of the posse.
It's part of the grind,
yeah,
isn't
you're
it?
Just trying to
point yourself in the same direction.
I always say any little extra, half a percentage you can give yourself, it's worth trying. If it doesn't work out, you go back to the drawing board. So I'm just constantly trying to figure out where I'm at, what's changing, where the next job's going to come from, and how, in the attempt to get there,
it's all in the same direction.
Little things like who am I going to meet doing podcasts or going on, doing interviews, done TV stuff, or even random things like I'm doing Ulysses in the Abbey as we speak, and
savage
phone calls came in from some media outlets, and two of them wanted to do something with me, but it was very little about acting. It was about finances as an actor, and those kind of questions about money and stuff like that. But I said I'd do it because you get a little plug for the show at the end. But also it's just another little element. I don't see the harm. I don't see what could go wrong. You never know who reads that and then they want me to do something else. And
yeah,
I love just going along with going to flow and seeing what happens with these kind of things.
Absolutely, like me getting invited to the Soccer Panties, that to be in the audience. I was going to learn so much from that. And if there's someone in there that I might be interested in having the chat with for my podcast, and lo and behold, I get to talk to you and one or two other people, it's that is a winner.
Yeah, and
that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Absolutely,
just staying in the grind, isn't it? You just came back from the Camino. Give us a little insight to that. What was the story with that?
Yeah,
I listened to a podcast you did about it, but I'd like to hear from you.
The Camino podcast, yeah. That was fun. Actually, I'll talk about that in a sec. Yeah, basically, I was kind of going through a bit of a rough period in my life, and months before that, everything was going perfect almost, So I was going to myself, well, listen, I need to do something for my own head. I need to just change it up a little bit, because I'm 32 now, and all through my 20s when people were going on J1s and summers here and there and over to Australia or Canada or wherever it may be, I always said, no, I'm going to stay in Dublin and work a little part-time job, do profit share plays, knock on doors, just, I always thought the phone might ring, I can't ever go away, and then, and I still probably think a bit like that, but right, what am I going to do? And I said to myself, I always wanted to do the Camino. Heard about it a few years ago, and also had an idea that it was very good for people who wanted to just kind of clear their head, reevaluate where they were at, and kind of just get away from life for a month or so.
I know you said that you had a breakup and you were surrounded by some negativity as well, and was that was obviously in the back of your mind, clear that away?
Yeah, it was just kind of like, right, what do you, how do you kind of get over this? And it was, subsequently all good and all that, but
yeah,
it was like, so I just booked it, And the thing was, I was lucky in that I had a job lined up in January. I finished that, and then I had another job for March. So whatever it worked out, I had 40 days.
Yeah.
So I rang my agent and said, listen, I'm going on this trip. if something comes in, I'm not available because I've got the show before and the show after. And I said, so I want to have those 40 days where, there's nothing going on. And he understood. He went, yeah, great. So I had my flight overbooked and my flight home booked. And I went and researched it and I watched vlogs and I'm not a hiker. I didn't have anything. So I went out, I bought the bag, I got my boots, researched it all, got all the equipment and did it. And there was something, it was very, it was very freeing, I'd never been away on my own. And yeah, I don't know, it was just, I got there, I had to make my way to the south of France and I met people on the first day or two and the group of us kind of stuck together throughout the whole month. So you had time to walk on your own, you had time with people. I met an amazing bunch of people. We still have a WhatsApp group now. Savage. People from different ages, from all over the world. And it was like a family. And I just realised that there's more to life than stressing out about your job or money or relationships or, little family dramas or whatever it is, or your phone, And now I will say that it has been hard to apply what I learned to the modern world since I've come back.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that I always know that there's options out there. It's amazing what a month of walking across a country can do for your head,
Of course, you just unravel that ball of wool.
Yeah.
And mine is like a tight ball of wool and we never get the chance to unpack it and put things here, put things there because we're too busy picking up our phone, checking the internet, going on social media, not knocking social media, but we just keep that ball tight.
Yeah, I mean, social media is great, but it can be a little box of anxiety if you if you're using it all the time or you take it too seriously. But the Camino is great because you're in that mindset anyway. There's almost that placebo effect of I'm going to have a revelation here now. I didn't necessarily have any I'm not a spiritual person, big revelations or anything, but I met a lot of great people. I realised that you can change your mindset by going off and doing something that is completely alien to you. It's a bit random. It's an adventure.
Absolutely.
It's something silly, but on New Year's, we were all joking before we went out. We were drinking in my friend's apartment and there was just a notepad and a piece of paper on the table, like an A4 thing, and we all ripped up sheets and it was to write ourselves a resolution, just as a little thing. I don't even know if they did it properly, but I wrote on mine, have courage, be fearless.
Brilliant.
And I got it from a motivational speaker who I was listening to, and I just thought, never been away on my own. So that the next day I booked a last minute flight to Berlin for myself and went that week, and then I got a train down to Prague all on my own. I'd never been away on my own, and I just thought, what seems like such an ordinary thing for a lot of mates of mine, I was always fascinated by people who went away on their own.
Me too. I've never been away and I've never went to cinema on my own till last night.
Oh, there you go. So I do that all the time. It's amazing what people think is strange, And I thought that it was strange, but the amount of people I met in hostels and whatever, it was great crack.
Savage.
But then when I went on the Camino, it was like, it was just very freeing, as I said. Met a lot of great people. Was asked to do a podcast. A guy rang me from Australia. Yeah, no, so I loved it. So it's something I might do again. I might do a different route. I might do the Portuguese one next year.
I looked at some of your vlogs. They were savage, actually.
Yeah, it's amazing to look back on. It seems like a lifetime ago.
As you said, it was for your family. I actually enjoyed it. And then I was thinking, wow, because I had a breakup back in January and I was thinking of going away, and I was thinking, oh, will I go away? Am I just being impulsive? So I says, no, I'll just stick to the podcast. I'll stick my teeth in that, and that will be me project,
Yeah.
It's interesting where our mind is. But yeah, you said something on the other day about darkness to light. What's your link to that? You said you started doing it. Have you done a couple?
Yeah, no, well, a lot of the things I write are characters who, without it being at the forefront of it or about issue plays or anything like that, are in some way, shape or form, like we all are dealing with moments in their lives where their mental health is not at its strongest. And and obviously I've known a lot of people who've had the severe tragedy of suicide impact them, and so I just felt that this year it would be a good thing to do to try and raise a few quid and do the walk, So I just come back from the Camino, and I said, it was a couple of weeks later, so I said to my mum, right, come on, this is like If I walked 800 kilometres across here, I can walk for a couple of hours around Tymon Park in Tala. But yeah, the spirit of it is great. I think the amount of people that show up, young and old, it's something that it's not a big effort to do, but it's a huge impact on breaking the stigma when you can see old and young, especially young people, there with the yellow t-shirts on, not being afraid of the word suicide, not being afraid to learn the facts, why it can get into somebody's mind. And I think that's the big thing. Like all things in life, confronting something without fear, education, knowing what it is, knowing that it can happen to anybody. Yeah, it's amazing. I just think the whole thing around mental health is something we're getting a lot better at, but it has to be perceived as being like your physical health.
Oh, 1,000,000%. I'm a huge advocate for mental health. I'm on the Suicide Awareness Committee here. I'm a Safe Talk trained staff up on Safe Talk on suicide, so I'm a huge advocate for it. People are talking, and I know they are, and we talk here, and we talk outside, me and my mates talk about it, and you made a reference about Blind Boy. It took a man with a bag in his head to raise awareness. My only thing with it is, people do talk about it, but they want to move away very quickly. Do you want it, like when you say to someone, how are you doing today? And you say, I'm alright. They go, oh well, Grant, don't kill yourself now. And they go, boom.
Yeah.
If people can just sit with it and treat it like it's just like being happy, that it'll pass. But people want to either fix it or move away from it really quick.
Yeah, because we're always afraid to say the wrong thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And my mate said to me, how are you feeling today? If I said I'm not great, you're not going to kill yourself. You've got 2 kids. Now, hold on a second.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you I'm not feeling great.
Yeah.
Kill your jets. But I know, like what we said a few minutes ago, his intent is good. He's my best mate, or someone's your best mate. They're just looking out for you. But if people could sit with it and make it normal, like it's just like being happy.
Yeah.
People don't relate to them the same.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not trained in this area whatsoever, but I often wonder about, I remember lots of little things I've thought about in terms of when you're like in a transition year in school, and that age, 15 or 16, where there's a lot of things that really could be talked about. That year could be used for so many things.
That's a great shout.
Like
emotional intelligence.
Issues around consent, which has been a big thing, and
because that is a primary time. Yeah, when things go.
And issues around suicide and mental health. And I just think that maybe sometimes people think, the education system anyway, oh well, if we bring all these issues to light, that might trigger somebody who never even thought about it before. But I think that the human brain works in a way whereby it's a part of our thought process.
Absolutely. I heard it.
We're aware of it, no matter, like, instinctively we're aware that we have the capacity to do this to ourselves.
Of course, because it's your brain's way of saving itself a shitload of pain.
Yeah.
The brain is really smart. And it was really refreshing. I was at a meeting with a consultant, a doctor, and she's coming on the show next week, Maria Frampton. And we were talking about patients going through spinal injuries. And she said, if that was me, I'd feel suicidal. And I was like, wow, I'm glad you said that. It's just normal.
Yeah.
You're thinking, and I had an interview with another girl, and she went through a horrific injury. And she said, I contemplate suicide, not because I wanted to die, but the fact that I didn't want to live with this. But she just said it so normally. It's just, as you say, it is part of life. What do you do to look after your mental health? Like, what kind of stuff do you do to...
Yeah, well, I've been very lucky in that when I feel low, and my reaction is to try and I don't stay in it for long. Now, whether that's through action or just natural genetics or whatever, I do think myself as lucky in that I try and see the positives. But I remember a friend of mine from college, years before I met him, had been in a very dark place, and a friend of him saying, look, worse comes to worse, buy yourself a ticket to Paris and float around Paris for a couple of weeks, come back and see how you feel. And I think that was a guy in a moment just trying to react. But I always went, look, there's always that. Now, I wasn't feeling suicidal when I went on the Camino, but it was definitely a thing of going, well, do you know what? I'll do this and see how I feel after it. See if I still feel low. And I mean, when I touched down in the south of France, I was happy. Now, I must preface that by saying that the relationship had got back together at that stage. But I'm talking about the feelings towards that. For too long, I put my happiness in other things, relationship, career, whatever it was,
external stuff.
So it was just learning how to be happy with yourself, and there's things that you can do that can make you happy.
Unbelievably.
But I've also become, and this is coming from somebody who finds it very hard to be perceived as being weak or vulnerable. And I've had a couple of good mates say to me, "It's okay, tell me," and then you'll end up spilling your guts to them about certain things, and you feel a lot better for it. I remember being in London late last year to visit friends. I had a great week. I had 5 or 6 days there, floating around, seeing shows, meeting up with people, going for drinks, and it was great. But I remember coming home and I get flight anxiety, which is another thing that I try and conquer by just, I think I've been on something crazy like 24 flights this year alone.
Yeah.
So it always makes me, it's weird, I'm not afraid once I'm on the plane, but I get very anxious and I become very emotional. So if I have to say goodbye to somebody or whatever, I'm in my bits, But I remember being in bits about lots of things, but ringing my dad, and he's like yourself, kind of went into education, not the traditional 18, 19, later on in his life. And he's a qualified therapist, And he knows my dad as well, but he understood where I was at. And so it's that thing, it was just actually just letting it out for 10 minutes. Because sometimes that's the problem. We can never see the wood from the trees, we can never. We always think that whatever we're feeling right now, that's forever, and it's not. And
then once you get it out and you have the words out, you go, "No, hold on a sec." It's like writing on a board over there, like writing up. Then you go, there it is. Instead of bouncing around your head in 10 different ways, and you're making stories and analysing and putting endings and circumstances. Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that vulnerability with me. I really appreciate it. And as you say, it's lovely that your mates could say you can talk to me, because I have a bunch of lads now that we say to, how's the head, how's things, what's going on, and if you say, I'm feeling shit, this will pass. Just like being happy, it passes. And I'm glad you said that. You just touched on it. It usually passes for you, and people are fearful of that geez, this is going to last for days, weeks. The mind just doesn't work like that. It won't stay in that process, and it will move through it. And if people can take that away, that it won't last for weeks, that's a savage point. I would like to give a plug to, there's a service up in Tallaght called Hope. Have you heard of them?
I have heard of it, yeah.
I only realised it the other day. Hope, can't think of what it stands for again.
I don't know myself now, but I remember
Hold On Pain Eases is what it's.
Yeah.
Hold On Pain Eases, and it's savage. It's a drop-in suicide prevention service.
I could be wrong now. I don't know if it's the same people involved in is it Teen Line. There was there was a guy, I didn't know him personally, but he was a year below me in school, who sadly committed suicide in his teenage years while we were in school. And his mother is a big advocate for suicide awareness and prevention in Tallaght. Maybe she's associated with that as well, but I know that she set up, I could be wrong, there's all different lines. I think she set up Teen Line for teens who are feeling this way.
Deadly.
Years and years ago. But
Brilliant.
I remember getting a nice video of the Darkness into Light, and did a big banner with Hope on it. I think they probably have it on all the different walks, but it was nice to have it there when I did the walk in Tallaght as well.
It's coincidence that I'm interviewing you and you're from Tallaght. This Hope, I love, and there's not enough of them. I interviewed 2 girls from Armoyway, they're friends of mine, that one, their daughter died by suicide, she's only 13, and they've set up a service around Armoyway called the Shannon Hope Line, and they do amazing work in the area, and I'm delighted now it's in Tallaght. I think everywhere should have, I think the country should be saturated with resources for young people without the emotional and social intelligence, that they need that support. That's deadly. So check out Hope Service in Tallaght. I'm really, really, really impressed that's going on. I'm going to go to they've an open day coming up, I think, this Saturday. I'm going to try bounce up to it. Right, let's talk about Dublin Old School. I went to see the film last night. As I say, I was a little bit anxious going because I was afraid I'd ruin one of the best live performances I've ever seen in my life, probably because I was in that era. So I went to the film last night on my own with my little bag of sweets, and it was unbelievable. Give us an insight to it. What's the crack?
Well, again, Emma Kerwin wrote the play, and himself and another pal of mine, but fellow actor, Ian Lloyd Anderson, they were in the play.
What a spectacular partnership them two had in the film.
It was great, and it started off and it's been documented, and they've done interviews about it, but they were sharing a dressing room in the Abbey doing a show, George Bernard Shaw play, but they were kind of going, oh, Emmett especially, I'm going to write something for the two of us, you know. And again, and as someone who has written plays and put plays on myself, I know that, you know, I'm always filling people with ideas. I want to do this, I want to do that, and they're like, yeah, well, you know, when it happens, then let me know. Fish Amble, a great theatre company who I've worked for recently, they have this initiative they do every year at the Dublin Fringe called Show in a Bag, and you apply, and what it is, you can be a writer, but it's more for actors who maybe feel like, I'm not a writer, but I want to create my own work, especially in the environment now where, you know, there's less and less funding, and in a way you have to have many strings to your bow to make a living in Ireland, you know, as a theatre professional. So we're seeing more and more of that, people writing their own work. So this is an initiative where even if you can't write the play yourself, they'll put you with their playwright they have, and you can your ideas, and you can act in it. So it's great, and they pick 4 every year. So anyway, there's an interview process, and they hear the ideas, and what your idea is going to be, how you're going to do it, you know. And it's called Show in a Bag because it's meant to be a small scale set, usually 2 actors, maybe even just a 1-person show. You know, something you can literally put in the bag and travel anywhere. That's the premise.
Yeah.
So Emmett rings me one day and says, remember I was telling you I'm writing this show? And I'm going, yeah. And he's going, well, I haven't got a part for you because I said, I've given it to Eno. I said, oh, that's all right. He says, but I have to do this interview and Eno's working. So can you come in to the interview with me, because I've written a couple of sample scenes of this unfinished, because it didn't have to be finished, as I said, It's just the idea. So I'm sitting in the room with him, and he's going, listen, it's called Dublin Old School, the little panel in front of him, and he's going, it's kind of about this DJ, it's about Dublin dancing, there's rap involved, it's about all these different things, about these 2 brothers, kind of based, you know, loosely based on a real encounter I had with my brother, and they were fascinated. So I read a couple of scenes with him as the brother and stuff like that. So that epic scene in the lane, like there was elements of that on what he had written.
Blew me away, that did.
So I always joke and say I was there from day one. So I think the play goes on, it's a massive success. You know, it goes to the National in London, goes to Canada, all over Ireland, sold out. And what was great about it, attracted an audience that wasn't like theatre goers. It was like theatre goers plus
across barriers. Did
it did. It got people who were involved in the dance scene years ago, or nightclub scene, whatever it was. And they, you know, it was going to be made into a film, and I'd worked with all the producers before. I'd worked with the director Dave Tynan before, and it was just one of those where it was like, if I'm not in this film, you know, I am going to rear up.
I haven't heard that in years.
Yeah. So anyway, I got the phone call. Listen, obviously, can you come in to read? And the whole thing is that the part was like a guy my age that was meant to look like me and sound like me and play Emmett's mate. I thought, this is nailed on. But there's a lot of good actors out there, and like the producers had to be convinced, the film board had to be convinced. I'd done enough good work that when I did my audition, they went, yeah, like, this is what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Grand.
Deadly.
So I was delighted.
There was a great bond between you. There was a great chemistry. You could see you were mates for a long time. I don't know much about acting, but just it was.
Well, that's it. In a part like that, like, people see the movie.
Flawless.
I played a character, Bobby. He's at the start and he gets arrested. He comes back at the end. Like, I haven't got. There's not a huge range of things I have to do in the movie. My only job is to convince you that I'm this bloke's mate, and I'm an ordinary Joe Soap who likes to go out and have the session at these things. Like, that was my only job in that. So you're not trying to reinvent the wheel. As you said, that's the biggest compliment anyone can pay all of us in the movie, but particularly me and those scenes and that group, is that it feels like they're actual mates. That's all my job is in that movie.
I felt bad for him when he threw you in the back of the car and he said, will you drop me up in Inhaler? Mm-hmm. And he went off to the sesh.
Yeah.
I was like, you fucker.
It's funny, I watched it. I went to see it with my mates, and we watched it in Tala in the cinema there. And it was fairly full, the screening. And that line got a huge laugh. Me Inhaler. Yeah. It's like I don't know. It's a little Irish thing. I don't know whether it's funny. It will be funny abroad. It's almost like, you know, don't leave the immersion on, or Me Inhaler. You know, it's just like those little things that characters have. Like,
that was important to me. I was like, not the fact that you're sitting in the back of a car. I was like, he's Inhaler, the puff. Yeah. And he went off looking for yokes. It was deadly. But
I thought the lads did a great job, and the 2 main characters, particularly, those scenes felt very real. And I think, you know, we can all relate to it, where, you know, they're talking about the mother, and it's just heartbreaking. But a lot of interesting social points. I mean, the whole thing about art is that it has to be characters first and the social issues afterwards, you know. But a lot of social issues regarding of how we perceive people depending on what drugs they take and stuff like that, and what their addictions are.
Do you know what part nailed it from me? And he really got this, because I've experienced this with mates of mine. When he was talking to the brother about doing yokes, but then going on and smoking brown, and someone offered him at a party, I know a handful of people, I know more than that's happened to,
Right.
and they went on gear. Like, that was so on point. Not good, not cool, but he just highlighted it, and that was so true.
And it was something I never
On the
knew.
money. It was on the money.
I have to be honest, I was never into drugs. Myself, I have mates that would have been like, party drugs, whatever, but it was never for me, you know what I mean? I think I'm a bit of a control freak. As I said, I didn't drink till a certain age and have a history of addiction in the family and stuff like that, so
Okay, cool.
very aware of it. But that would have been like even new information to me, because I would have been a person asking the question, like, how do you go, like it's in the film, like, literally going, how do you go from yokes to gear?
Yeah,
And he's
people
like,
used to smoke it
you
and
know,
come down.
Yeah. And so I thought that whole exploration of that was fascinating, and the idea of the brother who's coming off, he's trying to recover from being a heroin addict, is he's saying to him, listen, you're 1 weekend away from where I started. And I thought,
So poignant.
yeah, it's true, you know.
On the money, and that's what made it so believable. And there was tons of those little pieces where I went, that's so believable, it's so real, and you just, it's not a film anymore. To me, it was like as I said on the tweet last night, it was like a history documentary. It was like watching the history go by again. It was so real. How did he get that insight? What was the
Well, I mean, I think
tons of research on that?
yeah, I think Emmett was into that scene. He would have been at those clubs that are mentioned in it. Now, I've never talked to him about his real life experiences in terms of that, but
brilliant.
I know
Brilliant.
that he did meet his brother. It was in London, who had been on the streets for a few years and on heroin, and eventually decided to come home and is now a counsellor. Fully, helping other people in that
Fair play
position.
to him. Deadly, I'm delighted to hear that.
So I think that's what you do sometimes when you write. You infuse little snippets of your real life in there, but ultimately it's a fictional thing. But you just try and, again, going back to that word truth, you try and find the truth. You write and you rewrite and you run it by people and you hear it out loud and you give it to actors and you workshop it, and you can just smell if something is phony or not, and I don't know, that's just it's an instinctive thing, and there's gonna be and it's subjective, and I mean, not everybody has thought the film's the best thing since sliced bread, but the most important thing is seeing people's reaction, especially on social media. The punters who were just going in there, they're getting a lot from it. Like, the reactions to have been crazy online.
Only for us on my own last night, I was going to take my top off. I am body conscious, so I was like, nah, no one wants to see a ginger Chewbacca in Rathmine Cinema.
Yeah.
So I bottled it. There's also 5 people from Tallaght in it.
Yeah, so there's myself, Shauna,
More Tallaght.
Emmett himself, obviously.
Yeah.
Marco Rowe, who I mentioned, is a player. He's a
yeah.
cameo in it. He's the guy with the cat.
Yeah.
And
The cat dude.
yeah. There was a thing, though, for people, if you have watched it, there was so many things get chopped and cut and changed, and this was part of the business. You just hope that you're in the final thing, even though one of your great lines that you had might be gone. But I thought there was a great gag in it which they just cut out for time's sake, where Emmett asks him, what's the cat's name? And he says Schrodinger. And he goes, well, tell him to get back in his box. But it was just like, whatever, ended up just being this other little thing. He's just like,
Some of the gags were so subtle that when the enjoyment, when it wears down on me, I'm going to go back and watch it again for the film that to try
I've seen it. I've only seen it twice, but I had a different experience. I must say as well, Tony Doyle, because he gets left out of all the Tallaght. He's the 5th.
Is he?
Tallaght person. He plays the younger kind of homeless guy who Jason Emmett's character meets a few times, and he points out where the brother is.
Where's the brother?
Yeah.
At the end, he's sitting on the ground. Yeah. He's like the final member of Boys Own. No one knows his name.
Yeah. He's great though. Great face.
Yeah,
and like really believable again.
All of them are very believable. Like, there was no one I'd have said, even like Dave the Rave. His name is Dave, actually.
Yeah.
He was believable. Like, South County Dublin.
Yeah, Liam Heslin, he's great.
Yeah,
and he's from Longford. Now, he spent a long time in Dublin.
Oh yeah,
here training as an actor, and he's been here over 10 years. But it was funny, and there was huge competition for that part.
Yeah.
I remember, even I went in to read for Bobby, but I also read for Dave the Rave, and I was really excited to see who ended up getting that part. And then it was Liam, and Liam has a lot of experience in the theatre, but hasn't done a lot on film and TV. In fact, I think it might be his first film.
Wow.
So it was a great coup for him, but he, I thought he nailed it, yeah.
What's the story with yourself? What's on the go, projects-wise? What are you up to at the moment right now then?
Yeah,
other than that?
So finishing up last week of Ulysses in the Abbey, which has been great. First time on the main stage in the Abbey for me, even though for years, like, it's funny, it's your national theatre, you want to get up there, it's like wearing a green shirt, if you're a footballer. But I've been offered a couple of parts there over the years, but because of other work, wasn't able to do them. So it's one of those things where you go, the longer it goes, when am I going to get a chance to be up there, So I'm delighted that I've had a long run with that. And then straight into a play called Class, which is a new play, and it's one of the best plays I've ever done. And I don't big up every play I'm in. Sometimes you're in a play, it doesn't quite work. That's just the nature of the business. This one is brilliant. We did it last year in the Dublin Theatre Festival.
Where can people see that? Where is it going to be on?
People in Ireland might not be able to see that again really until next year, because we're going to Galway for the Arts Festival. So if we're in Galway, we'll be in the Arts Festival.
So will it be on down in Galway?
Yeah, be on Tyvark, which is, I don't want to get my dates wrong, I think we're on from
Well, I'll tell you what,
23rd of July for that week.
Text it to me and then I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah,
because if it's something to Class, I'll definitely go down to Galway to see it.
But it's also, if Galway International Arts Festival, you Google that programme, the tickets are available there.
Boom.
And then we're off to Edinburgh for the Fringe Festival for a month, and we're playing the Traverse, which is like, one of the best venues to play. And again, it opens it up to a whole new audience. Obviously, clues in the title, deals with the issues of class, but a very clever title because it's set in a classroom. It's about a parent-teacher meeting that goes wrong. Kind of a working class, stereotypical working class Dublin couple, stereotypical middle class teacher.
Right.
And what's brilliant is it breaks all that bullshit away. You see real characters, you see real people, and it just keeps jumping between kind of comedy and then hits you a real punch in the stomach, I get to play a dad. Him and his wife are separated recently, and then myself and Sarah Morris, who plays my wife, we become little kids. So I become my 9-year-old son Jaden, who's having learning difficulties, and she becomes Kaylee, who is also another girl in the class who's having trouble with her reading.
Wow.
And we're in homework club, and Will O'Connell, who plays Mr. McCafferty, Ray McCafferty, the teacher, he always stays as the teacher. So it jumps back and forth between a real-time parent-teacher meeting, where there's huge misunderstanding over learning difficulties, educational psychologist, is it dyslexia,
all these labels,
class issues,
like labels.
Yeah, exactly, and all the insecurities start coming out.
Yeah.
And it jumps between that and what happens in after the meeting, all these different sessions of homework club that the teacher's trying to implement. And it's brilliant because your allegiance to the characters, it keeps shifting. You think that my character's right, and then you think he's a bit of a prick, and then you think that she's totally right, but she's giving me a hard time. You think the teacher's being a bit of a snob and being patronising, but then you realise that there's a reverse snobbery at play, that we only think that he's just trying to be, use big fancy words because he thinks we're thick when he doesn't. So everyone's trying to do the right thing for these kids,
and that's very reflective
make a mess
of society.
Of it. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
That's so on the money.
Yeah,
and we all go through that,
and we're very defensive.
Oh Jesus, absolutely.
So
barriers come up.
Yeah, exactly, and we all get. So I realise that there's a paranoia with all people. I mean, to touch back on what we started with, what I realised, what I didn't know when I was younger, is that I've met people who, if I say to them, "Oh, that's because you're very posh," joking with them, they'll be as defensive as I'd be if someone said to me, "You sound very common," or something like that.
Oh yeah.
So it would be. So we all have,
of course,
insecurities about how we sound, how we look, and where we're from, and what job we have, and where we're, and all that kind of stuff. So
deals with that.
But what happens is the tragedy becomes when there's little kids and their education and their confidence at stake. When do we need to let go of our own shit and try and figure out what's best? And it's a really, David Horan and Cecil Golden are the co-writers and co-directors, but they spent years writing this, did a lot of workshops on it, got different actors to read it, and paid actors to come in for 2 or 3 days to come in and workshop. And that's how I got involved. They asked me would I come in and workshop it, and they were like, you are Brian. We have to get you to do this play.
Deadly.
So it worked out.
So you're busy anyway. Kept going.
Yeah, and then you don't know after that. I have a new play written, but like my previous play From Eden, you know, it's written for myself and Shauna Kerslake, again, who's in Dublin Old School, to be in. But, you know, she's been doing really well. Just finished a play in the Old Vic in London, and is, you know, auditioning for like bigger and better stuff. People know her from Can't Cope, Won't Cope, and A Date for Mad Mary. So it all depends whether I can nab her for a few weeks to do a play later in the year, you know.
Savage. We're after covering so much on this podcast. I've gone from class, acting, talent, suicide, mental health. What's the one thing though that you would like people to take away from this interview?
I don't know about the one thing, but
yeah, it can be anything.
Let's see. Well, first and foremost, like any time someone comes to see a movie you're in, or watch a TV show you're on, or comes to see it in the theatre, which is predominantly how I make my money, is that if you spent 45 minutes or an hour listening to this, that it was an hour well spent. And if there's something a little bit deeper to take from, it's that I am just a person like you who doesn't have all the answers about anything, let alone, you know, what I'm supposed to be, you know, an expert in, like, you know, like being an actor or a writer or whatever. And I certainly don't have all the answers about life. I'm willing to say I don't have all the answers, and I think that's where I found the most comfort in my own skin from learning from others, you know, and, you know, just from listening to their stories and letting go of my own I'm all my opinions are right type of attitude. Long-winded answer, but yeah, just that I'm a big EJ who doesn't know all the answers either.
It's okay not to know.
Exactly.
People don't like that. If you ask them a question, go, do you know the answer? Go, oh, well, it's it. Just say you don't know if you don't know. I'm not going to judge you.
Yeah. But yeah, there's I'm not coming at it from the point of view that everyone is negative or everyone's looking for answers, but just that there's different ways out there. If you're in a position where you feel a bit stuck in any part of your life, career, and I feel that all the time, even when I'm doing well, there's times where I wake up and go, I'm miserable with this, you know. But, you know, a job, you know, relationship, friendships, you know, money issues, there's, you know, it's about take the courage to assess it honestly, and maybe it's a different path, you know. That's the thing. Maybe we're not on the right path, and maybe the thing that seems negative today is a year from now the best decision or the best thing that ever happened to you. I mean, I try not to deal in cliches or anything like that, but I think that there's by doing something you've never done before, as small as it might be, the more that you can do, the more your horizon. So for me, it was, as I said, it was travel.
Flying, yeah.
Never
absolutely.
got to travel enough.
The lie you just said that, you know? Like, I'm fear of flying, so I do more of it. I go forward in life, even when I'm fearful of doing things, like being anxious about coming to meet you or doing this interview. I was like, oh shit, I'm nervous. There was no way I was going back. I just think you need to keep just facing your fears, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Right, well, Jesus, we're going over an hour.
Oh, that's me waffling on.
No, me. I'd have you here for hours talking about Dublin Old School. Stephen Jones, thanks so much for coming into the podcast. I'm so grateful for somebody to give their time, and me walking up to you at another podcast going, will you be on my podcast? You're like, yeah, absolutely. That's fucking sound. So I thank you.
No, thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it.
So that wraps up another absolutely fantastic interview. Jesus, I can't get over how well that went. It was brilliant. Thanks so much to Stephen. I know I said at the start celebrity, and we have a perception of what celebrities are. You know, to me, celebrity is just somebody on the telly, because I'm a 9-to-5 worker in a hospital. But there's nothing celebrity about Stephen. He's just an ordinary Joe Soap. I mean, from Tallaght, jumped on the bus to Dunleary. Sounds like a Bagatelle song. For the interview, I'm so grateful that somebody would do that. You know, we're just a little old podcast, but he actually gave us time. And I'm so grateful. Fair play. Thanks a lot, Stephen. You know, some of the things we discussed was brilliant. Some of his own personal stuff, his professional stuff. And then the little insight into his family. I'm really impressed with that. I know I've read it somewhere else, you know, that his family will really support him. It's great, you know, and families can learn from that, you know. If your kid is consistent at whatever you do, no matter what they apply themselves to, they will be successful. And they trusted him, man. Deadly, it's really great to hear. You know, Stephen, no matter what he seems to do, he'll be successful. Just like when he done the Camino. He researched it, he done all the things properly and got through it. And he has, check out his vlogs. They're actually cool. He's just an absolute sound lad. I was delighted to share the interview with him. If anybody's interested in looking into more of Stephen Jones, check out his website, stephenjonesactor.com. He's also currently in Ulysses in the Abbey at the moment. He's got a show coming up on the 24th to the 28th of July in the Galway Arts Festival. That's called Class. It sounds absolutely class. I'm going to be going to it. I've booked my tickets to go see that. It sounds brilliant. He's also in a film called Dublin Old School with Emma Kerwin. Absolutely amazing. Check it out. Brilliant acting, brilliant story. The cinematography around Dublin, the way it was set, was just spectacular. Now, I was a little bit nervous going because I seen the play and I was afraid that I might ruin it, I wouldn't live up to it, but it just presented me with something totally different, just like a better version but on screen. But amazing. I love the play, and then this was just a beautiful film on screen. So I've two things that I absolutely love. So if you haven't seen Dublin Old School, check it out. It's an amazing film, and Stephen plays a cracking part in it. He plays Bobby, Jason's friend, and it just seems like they're friends. You'd swear they were been buddies all their life, and I suppose they are off screen, and that just comes across. It's really believable. I actually thought it was flawless. Yeah, so check that out. So thanks a lot, Stephen, for coming in. You're an absolute legend. As always, I'd like to thank Noel Riley from Rooney Media, Carolyn Harvey from ISA Nutrition, also my new crew members Derek McDonnell and Aaron Keogh. Lads, thanks so much for your effort in the podcast. Really after improving our quality. So that's all we have time for today. But before we go, I'd definitely like to ask, please share this with family and friends. Subscribe on iTunes. And if you're on iTunes, please leave a review. Reviews get us more acknowledgement, get the word out, spread the stories out. So I'd absolutely love it if you could do that. Leave us an L review, not a bad review, leave a delicious good review, and share with family and friends. We're also on Spotify, we're also on Acast, and we're also on Podbean and SoundCloud. So we're all over the place. So check us out, whatever platform that you desire. As always, I'll always say to you, mind yourself. Let's just be kind to you. So if you're kind to yourself, you'll be kind to everyone else. Take care. Thanks for listening in.